Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you are doing well. We are here with my favorite video of the week, which is our trade talk video. If you've been enjoying the content, make sure you smash a thumbs up on this video and make sure you subscribe to the channel in order to catch all the videos we are doing for the rest of the season. Long video here, so let's get straight into it. The most traded in player this week is Jaden Coleman from Brisbane. Can 100% understand why he is the most traded in player. Bear with me because when I have my laptop zoomed in, it does get a bit weird. But in 68% game time, scored a 73 against Melbourne at the weekend. 6 marks, 19 touches, looked absolutely $1 million. 1 tackle, but you can't expect much more from Kitty Coleman than that. I think he's going to ease his way into the role nicely. He has a great buy in round 16 as well. I think he's a fantastic option, and we'll have a look at the trade outs and you'll see who is most likely to be moving out for him. But goes to the MCG this week against Hawthorn. Then has a few nice matchups against Essendon, Adelaide, GWS, and Geelong going into the bye. I just think at his price, what is he, about mid-500s? Yeah, 538. I think you just need to launch into Kitty Coleman if you don't have too many issues in your side. In at number 2, Nick Martin. Again, this makes perfect sense if you're moving off of a Jason Horne-Francis or a Jack McCrae, just to go straight across to Nick Martin. Other than these 2 games here, the Collingwood and the North Melbourne games where he was dealing with a knock with his calf, he's been going at over 90% time on ground every single game. He's just someone you want on the field. He just plays almost every minute of every game. He's got multiple games there with 100% time on ground. Just an absolute weapon in getting up and down the ground, takes the high marks for our sides as well, and has a really good floor because of that. So if you are looking for a forward this week, I would definitely be looking at Nick Martin. Then the best downgrade option this week is Cooper Simpson. So coming in there at number 3, he's been brought in by 6,000 coaches. I think he is the out-and-out easiest option to bring in if you're looking for a downgrade. Ideally, as someone who's going to be sitting on your bench, and I'd say that this is probably the last week you can probably move to a Cooper Simpson. So if you've got a Connor Stone sitting there, I think time to move him on. Hopefully the marks will be there going against Port Adelaide this week. If Fremantle playing at home want to control the ball, then him at halfback's not the worst option. Chad Warner in at 4. Again, another forward option for us if you can't get up to Nick Martin. And you're going sort of down and sideways a little bit. I don't think Chad Warner is the worst option. The CBAs are looking good. The disposals are there. Goal kicking probably hasn't been there this year. Like last year, last year he had the goals a little bit more consistently. Kicked 2 at the weekend, and you can sort of see when he does kick the goals, that's when those scores typically are reflective of those better scores. But I think Sydney's midfield is really starting to find some form. They've got a good run into their bye, and I think he's a fantastic buy overall. Jack Sinclair bounced back nicely with a big game against West Coast. The break evens back down at 83. If you're looking at a defender and you don't have a Nazai Wanganeen-Miller, I don't mind this because the buy, unless you've got Luke Ryan and Jordan Clark, the buy is fantastic for those Saints and Fremantle defenders. So I don't see people not wanting to go to Jack Sinclair, which is fair enough. But I feel like most sides have other issues to deal with. But if you don't have a Jack McCrae or a Jason Horne-Francis, and you want to go a Riley Bison, a Luke Traynor, 1 down to Kitty Coleman and 1 up to Jack Sinclair. If you can make that happen, then that would be great. Jordan Dawson in the midfield, probably not looking in these areas unless you're looking at putting a Horne-Francis or a McCrae into your midfield via DPP. I like Jordan Dawson a lot. He's had a couple floor games this year, but the showdown one he was heavily tagged. Geelong's a tough matchup in North Melbourne. He spent a bit of time forward. I think he's more a dream team player than he is a Supercoach player anyway. So I think with West Coast, Sydney and Brisbane coming up and Hawthorn, you can probably launch into a Jordan Dawson if you are moving magnets around that way. Break even of 108. He's not someone that you're bringing in typically as a value play. You know, you're getting him in averaging at 110. You know, he's probably going to be around that mark for the rest of the year. Matt Kennedy, as good as he's been, he's gone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scores of pretty much 110 and above. I wouldn't be bringing him in just because of this buy right here in round 12. Let the Geelong game come and go on Thursday night. Let him have his buy, and then if you still really want a Matt Kennedy. You can get him for Hawthorn, St Kilda, Richmond, Sydney, North, Adelaide, Brisbane, Essendon, Giants, Melbourne, West Coast and Freo. It's a good run home for the Bulldogs. He's someone I'd probably be looking at in round 13 as an upgrade target if you want to look at a forward upgrade there. So that's what I'd be doing. Next on the list is Shai Bolton. I just think previous scars will probably haunt me going with a Shai Bolton, but the midfield minutes have been there. The time on ground is quite nice. He's kicking goals. He's getting disposals. He's getting involved in the play. Look, he had 8 marks at the weekend for a 120. He's got 98, 66, 22, 97, 119. I think the midfield minutes will be there up until the bye, but then Hayden Young's probably back, and that probably sends Bolton forward again. At 732, could you do it? There's probably a world you could, but I wouldn't be recommending it. Same with the Luke Jackson. The scores have been very solid this year. You can see 93, 104, 102, 74, 66 there in that St Kilda game. I think he shared time with Sean Darcy, and then 92, 98. If we knew that Luke Jackson was going to be the number 1 ruck for the rest of the year, I would have 100% say launch into Luke Jackson, but I just can't recommend it at 857 when there's Sean Darcy looming around. So I don't think I can go there. Number 10, Isaac Ranken. Again, I feel like it's one of those ones, if you don't own him, he is 30% owned, so you could either take it on or you still could jump on. The Crows run's solid, again, for midfielders. He's tailored off a little bit the last few weeks. I think the Crows probably just need to tighten up their midfield rotation a little bit. So if they can do that and that gives him some more CBAs, then I expect a little uptick in his scoring because they are a much better side when him and Dawson are up and firing. So I'd be ticking off going Isaac Rankin at 930. He was number 10 on the list, but I wanted to talk about Isaac Heene because this is a very interesting proposition. I think he is valued at 888K. I think he finally looks fit. The time on ground is reflective of that over the last few weeks as well. The scoring is starting to get there with some low to mid 80s and a nice big 122. And if he'd kicked straight at the weekend, he would have had a big 150 plus score. I think with Melbourne, Adelaide and Richmond going into the bye, he does have a couple tough midfield matchups coming out of the bye, but he is a pretty good value option if you can make it work. So I wouldn't be against going an Isaac Heene there for the high 800,000s. But what you can see is there's a lot of players here that are over, 1,000 coaches bringing them in, and it is only Tuesday night. So it shows that there's a lot of variety in the moves coming in this week. Going out's a little bit different. So 20,000 coaches are selling Jason Horne-Francis, which is fair enough. He's down at 847. He's had a confirmed hamstring injury, 4 weeks potentially. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you just got to sell, which is fair enough. Jack McCrae, they're saying 2 to 3 at best. So pretty much taking him up through the bye. Once again, you got to move that on, I think. So if you've got both Horne-Francis and McCrae, you can probably just do 2 sideways moves. And hopefully with some money in the bank, you might be able to get a Jack McCrae and a Horne-Francis to a Nick Martin and a Chad Warner. If you can make that happen, fantastic. Riley Bice is someone who I understand why people are selling. Has the break-even of an 81. But with this run of Melbourne, Adelaide, Richmond into the bye, I think you could just hold him. If it means he loses a little bit of money, it's fine. He started the year at 230. Most people got on him at 300-odd K. If you lose 40K on him over the next couple of weeks, but he still scores 60s and 70s. I think you take the scores on the field versus, moving him. The only option I'd be moving him to is probably a Kitty Coleman, but Riley Bice is someone that stays in my side. Finn Callahan, 956, again, has made his money, started the year in the 7s, so if you did hold him through this period and then you've got these extra couple big scores out of him, 105, 98, 121, 101, 102, probably watch the injury report and see how long he's out for this shoulder injury. If you can maybe get him back for Richmond, maybe you hold because he is playing really good football. But if he's longer than 2 weeks, I'd be looking at moving him, down to maybe an Isaac Heene, and you pocket yourself 100 grand. Was it 100 grand? Was it 950? About 80, 70 grand. You get that back out of that move. Maybe that money goes a long way. Caden Cleary, I can understand this move if you're moving to Cooper Simpson, make 200K that way. I can tick that off. Jaden Shaw, definitely get rid of now. You've missed the 2 games that everyone really wanted, the West Coast and North Melbourne. Granted, Essendon is a good matchup, but yeah, I just don't know if you can trust what's going on with Jaden Shaw. Caleb Daniel, I think if you've held him this long, you probably just hold him one more week. If you, especially if you've got a Horne-Francis or a McCrae as well. You just cop another 80 score, hopefully, against Collingwood. And then if you really want to move him, you can move him at the bye. Otherwise, you get West Coast, Fremantle, Carlton, which aren't the worst matchups. I feel like TDK, again, if you've held him, if you held him last week for the St Kilda game and you then missed the Sydney game, you probably see what happens with him this week. Again, I wouldn't want to hold him. I think with a break-even of 97 and the way that, Marshall's looking, I know Marshall's run's not fantastic, but I just don't think that TDK will match what the top 4 guys do for the rest of the year. So I'd be looking at moving him on. And a Luke Trainer, everyone said to hold for West Coast and North Melbourne. What worries me with Luke Trainer was he was subbed out in that North Melbourne game. I thought he could have been on for at least another 65, 70 score and then was just taken off, which is really frustrating. Probably time to go now. He's made his money, break even of 54. He could hold and make that on Friday night because obviously Noah Bolton doesn't play, so there's probably room for him in that defence. But when we've got Kitty Coleman sitting there and you're deciding between Bryce and Trainer, I think Trainer is the one that goes first. So for my side, my rank has updated, as I said on the chat last night, my team review. So it's gone from 2-1 up to 3-4. So we're back out to 3-4, which is fine. My trades at this stage are Luke Trainer out to Kitty Coleman and Jack McCrae to Nick Martin. Very, very safe moves. I can move McCrae into the midfield, bring Garcia into the forward line and trade for a midfielder. But I just think Nick Martin, with the bye that he has in round 16 and with Richmond, Brisbane, Carlton, Geelong and Fremantle, I just like the fact that Nick Martin is on the ground so much. It frustrates me when you've got good players that, get caught on the bench because of, poor stoppages or whatever. At least with Nick Martin, he's a very low risk of getting stuck on the bench. So I'm looking at pretty much locking those moves in. I've already got Cooper Simpson. I went early on him last week, which was nice to be able to make that move happen. So at least I've got some cash gen coming there. Hopefully Hugh Boxall's back into the side this week with the McCrae injury. And hopefully Sardell Hooley does not get subbed again. And we'll have a little bit of cash gen coming back. But that's where my side is sitting. We are going to have a Q&A tomorrow night talking all trade things happening this week. I'm not set on my V and C yet, so don't look too much into that. But that is what I'm looking at with my trades this week. Let me know in the comments what moves you think I should make and get your trade dilemmas in the comments below. Once again, remember to smash that thumbs up and subscribe for more content. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night for our live Q&A.